everyone. Happy Thursday. Let me know if you can hear me. And welcome to our almost weekend wind down, which I'm back in my apartment. So I'm excited about that. We, as in me, are going to be going back and forth home to Miami to check on my dad and my sister. So I'm going to have to figure out a setup down there so it doesn't look crazy. But I feel like we survived okay last week. But yeah, I'm happy to be back, even though it is now cold and the cold and me are not friends. So, all right, let's get into this mess, which is a Kanye West. Which, to be very fair, like many of you, we have better things to worry about, to think about, to look at, than to be bothered with Kanye and his foolery. And I tried to ignore it. When it happened, I believe on Monday, he decided to have his fashion show in Paris. He decided that he wanted to make White Lives Matter shirts and pose with the one Miss Candace Owens and cause commotion. I ignored it. On Tuesday, when people were all up in the uproar, I ignored it. On Wednesday, when it was still going on, I was like, Lord have mercy, here we go. We're going to have to talk about Kanye. Annoying. And specifically because one of the interesting things I found with myself and in general as well, people that are over his antics, his foolishness, his nonsense, are very much like, oh, he's doing it for attention. Of course, he is. And we are trying to ignore him. And other people are using that same logic to dismiss his very problematic, very much real action-oriented behavior into, oh, he's just doing it for attention. Let's let it go. No. It's not let's let it go. It's let's ignore him, or let's address why this is much more problematic than just, oh, it's Kanye being Kanye. So yes, let's get into it. So our agenda is going to be the fashion, the foolery, the faux fallout, and a little sip and discuss. I forgot to buy the wine, so we're drinking wine. And the wine will probably, I ordered it, so it probably will come in like right mid-live, but that's fine. So yes. Yes, come on sushi for dinner. I know. Let us all choose calmness. I would say the goal of this live is less blood pressure raising and more so a little, discussion. A little discussion as to why the general public seems to forget that there are actual consequences tied to the things Mr. Kanye West decides to do. All right, so let's get into first the quote unquote fashion, which is objectively a very overpriced line of foolishness. So Kanye West decided that during his most recent show, he would make a White Lives Matter shirt. Very interesting. And in his newest Instagram, I would say he's treating it like Twitter. So he deleted all of his prior Instagram posts and has in the past 2 days a whole barrage of very random Instagram posts, which range from cryptic to manic. It's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. I think should be noted from the beginning of this, that some people are using his bipolar disorder to excuse his behavior. Being bipolar does not make you inherently anti-Black and have internalized racism. It can and most likely will affect how you decide to exhibit that internalized racism. But there are plenty of bipolar people that are not racist and do not have internalized racism. It's very disingenuous to use that as an argument and very unfair to bipolar people who are trying to self-regulate or are going to the doctor, etc., and managing their illness in their way. It's not making him anti-Black. He just happens to be anti-Black and decides to exhibit those behaviors while he's also maybe manic. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know if he's being manic right now. That's not for me to decide. So just to point that out there from the beginning, before people decide to, just blame it all on his disorder. One thing that I think has been forgotten, which is interesting, which is where the damn saying White Lives Matter came from. So this is from the Anti-Defamation League, and a reminder as to why this is so problematic. And no, we're not going to get into the whole discourse around what Black Lives Matter means, where it stems from in that history lesson. I would assume that since millions of people on the internet decided to post a black square, they knew what the black square was for. Or it's just performative patty nonsense. Probably both. Probably both. So White Lives Matter is a white supremacist phrase that originated in early 2015 as a racist response to the Black Lives Matter movement. There is a very large difference between the movement and the organization, which we're going to talk about a bit at the end, because he then tried to cover his anti-Blackness in, oh, but the organization is a sham. Yes, this is true. However, That is very different from the movement and very different from what he's doing. Now, which arose to protest, let me remove myself so we can see, which arose to protest against police brutality against African Americans and garnered considerable publicity in 2014 from protests in Ferguson, Missouri, following the shooting death of Michael Brown at the hands of a Ferguson police officer. All right, that is originally when the Black Lives Matter movement started. And then in 2020, unfortunately, after the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter in 2020 came, I would say, more towards the forefront of broader mainstream, aka white American society. When people, you know, a panorama happened, they had to look at it, etc. Okay. Now, since 2015, white supremacists, which... damn, I don't know how many times the algorithm is going to let me say this word. Well, we're about to see. In several states, especially members of the Texas-based white supremacist group, Aryan Renaissance Society, yes, have promoted the slogan, White Lives Matter, with flyers, protests, forming a loose campaign to popularize the phrase. By 2016, other white groups, including the KKK, were also using the slogan, and it soon became a staple among white supremacist mantras, continuing even after the original campaigners ceased their activities. So no matter how much Kanye and Candace want to wear their White Lives Matter shirts, the Klan is not accepting their admission into that club. That club has very strict requirements to which they do not meet. Which is why I really don't like when Kanye fans, in their effort to excuse anything he does, it's like, well, you know what? Kanye is a genius and we're all stupid, so we cannot understand and we just need to let it go. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that a Klansperson is not going to let you in to their society if you are a Black. And no amount of internalized racism and kowtowing is going to get you in. It's not going to happen for you, boo. Hate to break it to you. Actually, I'd love to break it to him. Now, additional images, and I wrote, dear algorithm, please don't demonetize my video. These are images used by actual White Lives Matter proponents in which they purported White Lives Matter and in the manner they did it, which is solely to demean Black people. Whereas Black Lives Matter and the movement Black Lives Matter was created in the United States to remind people that, yes, our life matters. No, you cannot go around shooting and killing Black people. There are huge disparities in this country due to systemic racism. White Lives Matter as a slogan did not exist until Black Lives Matter came around to bring awareness and to bring change for Black people. That's it. That's it. It's not like there was some systemic issues only affecting white people and they're like, oh, we need to remind everybody. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. This is not a rainbow coalition phrase. This is not any of that. None of that, any of that. Child, I am not in the mood for any of this. If you say foolishness, you just gonna get blocked so fast today. And even if you mean it in a good way, I don't care. I don't care. All right. Let us continue. Now, some Twitter foolishness into how doing mental gymnastics will have you out here in the street looking crazy. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to, because it wouldn't let me embed it, but I can present the screen. All right. Okay, here we go. Which, shout out to Tiana's Discord. This is where I found it from her Discord, so always hilarious. So, let's play this. We're not going to play the whole thing because it will hurt your brain because it's extreme nonsense, but we'll play parts of it because it's kind of comical. All right, let me know if y'all can hear it. I'm going to start playing it now.
Peace and love, family. It's your boy, Brother Truth. In today's class, we're going to talk about your boy Yeezy and him trying to put you on game, but nobody wants to pay attention. Now, as Complex Magazine reports, it says that Kanye West wears White Lives Matter t-shirt design at the Yeezy Season 9 presentation. And for this very reason is why it's important to know thyself and understand law and status. Now, if you know, like I know, when one identifies to be a Black, that makes them civilly or mortuus under the law. And what is that? Civilly dead in the view of the law, according to the Black's Law Dictionary. And of course, when you look at SF-181
before we continue,
Black African American is the only race on here that does not stem from.
If I am, according to this very interesting and confused man, legally dead because I chose to be Black in this place, why do I still have student loans? Why? Why? If according to him, to do his mental gymnastics, we are legally dead as Black people. Child, I would pray for these people, but it's giving waste of a prayer. So don't bother. Don't bother. All right, let us continue. And because nappy-headed Jehovah said it wonderfully, I am going to go ahead and put a quick clip from her as to how Kanye did backpedal for a second after he decided to offend one of the editors of Vogue. All right, hold on one second. Let's go back to our presentation. Oh, which one is this? This one? Yeah, it's this one. Okay, perfect. Can you all see? Okay. 1 second. Here we go.
Kanye will always see such an opportunity so that he can goad his fans into piling on and attacking a magazine editor for clearing him instead of actually dealing with what he did. He knows as well as I do that people need little to no reason when the target of their ire can be a Black woman. This is how Kanye moves. This is the type of male he is, and we know this. Only after Vogue took entirely too long, in my opinion, to stand behind their editor did Kanye start the humana and backpedal into this truly bizarre limp dick apology talking about that almost certainly didn't happen. Baz Luhrmann filmed y'all having dinner. Sure, Jan. If he did actually apologize to this woman, it is only because his position was threatened. When Gigi Hadid actually checked this hoe, he probably realized he was in some legitimate hot.
All right. Listen. It was him for no reason deciding out of all the people that were telling him, like, this is problematic. Why would you do this? This is not only hurtful and harmful, it has real life consequences. Who is going to buy this damn shirt? Just the clanny clan. That's the only people going to buy this shirt. I mean, it might make it easier to identify them. So actually, okay, fine. They're not going to wear it. What is going on? What is going on? What is the purpose? So him attacking the editor, one of the editors of Vogue, unnecessary, to which I would like to note that apology. Hold on, I want water. That apology that he posted saying, oh, I apologized to her for 2 hours over dinner. Allegedly, she did not confirm that. He deleted the apology. It's not on his Instagram. So I have no idea as to whether he actually apologized to that woman. And seeing that he has a penchant for not telling the truth, I would lean towards the no. I would just personally lean towards the no. All right.
Kanye will always see.
Okay. And after that, after he was then thoroughly dragged from various members of the fashion industry, because that's whose opinion actually matters to him, is people in the fashion industry. Kanye has been trying to make himself legitimate, and I would say at a certain level is legitimate in the fashion industry, but wants to be haute couture. Kanye's a lot of things. He's not haute couture, honey. Not that he should aspire to that, and I don't personally care about his personal aspirations, but that's who he cares about. So once he got dragged by numerous people, including probably a very semi-polite dragging by Anna Wintour herself, which Anna Wintour is not, you know, I would say the biggest defender of We the Blacks. Never forget Anna Wintour calling Naomi Campbell African-American and British Naomi Campbell looking at her like, what? You know there's Black people outside of America. Wild. He then decided to post this very long poem, I suppose, if you may. The picture of the white woman holding the 2 Black children, I have no idea why. It just wants to do things to provoke and raise the already high blood pressure of Black people, which is why I tend to ignore him. However, when people are choosing to say, let's ignore him and not talk about the detriment that he's causing, then we can talk about it. So let us read Kanye's poem-ish thing where he decides to talk about himself in the third person, and he probably also didn't write this. Now, according to him, after he received a few days of backlash, Ye cares about Black lives. Interesting. Ye's White Lives Matter is a comment on the status quo. No, it is not. It is a KKK slogan, as we have already shown. Let's continue. Ye's Black Lives Matter is a comment on how society frames independent revolutionary actions. I mean, the hubris and confidence of this man is very high. I will definitely give him that. When an artist like Ye challenges those framed spaces in a dialectical way, he is persecuted. He puts the grand narratives at risk. This specific sentence and stanza of his poem is why lots of Kanye fans will then decide to basically call themselves stupid, go against their own intellect, and simply say, me, the plebeian, I cannot understand what genius Kanye is saying. Just because somebody maybe have tendencies of what other people view genius in one certain area of life, i.e. music, does not mean it spans to everything else, such as looking at how society functions. That's not how that works. Now, and because he used the word dialectical, and, you know, I think always having a dictionary handy is helpful, because to be honest, at the top of my head, I didn't remember what it was. So I put it here for us. So dialectic is the art of investigating or discussing the truth of opinions, to inquiry into metaphysical contradictions and the solutions relating to dialectic or dialectics. So I always think that as a lawyer, what I have learned is whenever I see other people trying to confuse others, they will use highbrow academic foolishness and not explain themselves, which is interesting because we're going to get into the fact that Kanye himself says he does not read. So I'm not sure he even knows what that word means. I'm just going to put that out there. All right. Movement that oppresses, tolerates, that oppressors tolerate. I was like, I didn't read this right. Oppressors tolerate, commercialize, and use to cleanse themselves from international and historical guilt. You know what? That is a poignant little read. I'll give him one. When Ye says that Black Lives Matter is a scam, he means that nothing really changed. Blood still covers the sidewalk. That I would find to be a disingenuous statement, because he then proceeded to go into his stories to specifically say Black Lives Matter is a scam. He then invoked Breonna Taylor's mother, which we'll get into in a second. He then pulled up their 990, which their 990, the organization has shown, is untrustworthy. Yes. And again, it is disingenuous to talk about, which we'll get into in a second, so it'll make more sense. But to then in one breath say this entire thing is a scam without talking about the tons of Black people trying to hold the organization itself accountable. It's not just Kanye. And Kanye is not holding anyone accountable. Kanye is saying inflammatory things when he feels like it. And then when he gets caught using Candace Owens as a talking prop, which Candace Owens will say anything. Cooning for coins is nothing new. All right. Let us continue. And continuing to go on, hold on, y'all can't see. I realized I was like, y'all are just looking at my face. Okay. Let me remove me so I can lean in, because you know I cannot see. Ye is an artist. Ye cares about all lives, all. This is just very silly to me. Oh, and there goes the wine. The wine would just get delivered. That's fine. Ye cares about all lives, all people, and he is working against all oppression. He's an organizer now? Wow, I didn't know. Ye is an artist with independent power. This is from his own Instagram. Interesting. Grand narratives created by politics and media will always be in conflict with the artist. The artist is ultimately above the grand narratives. The artist is not above accountability. Using a Klan slogan again, when you cannot even get in to the clanny clan, and then saying you love everybody, is proving the point that you are delusional at best, and at worst, evil. Cooning for coins. At worst, you're doing it on purpose to raise what is already statistically high blood pressure of Black people. Oh, Lord. And we're not going to read the rest of it because it's just going to raise my blood pressure. All right. What I thought was very interesting is this is recent. This is from September 16th. In Rolling Stones, in an interview he did. Sorry, I'm listening to the door. In Rolling Stones, in an interview he did, Kanye said that he does not read books, that he doesn't see the purpose of it. And, you know, that would explain a lot of his actions. I find it very interesting that when people want to choose to rile people up, want to choose non-accountability is not the word. When they choose that they don't want to be accountable to anything, it's always, well, academia is over there and I'm all the way over here doing the work of the people, organizing on behalf of people. A revolutionary, that's a really big pants to fill if you want to call yourself a revolutionary. Kanye is revolutionary in one way alone, and that is the revolutionary delusion he has that caring about himself so much somehow is impacting we, the rest of the Blacks. It's very similar to when we talked about Jay-Z and Black capitalism. Now, Jay-Z was very upset that he was being called a capitalist and that being a capitalist was a slur and that he was here for the rest of us. How? He is posing in Tiffany with stolen diamonds. How is that helping 5 other Black people? Just 5. I would like to know. It's not. Similarly, also, I know that sometimes reading a book is time consuming. So this would be a great plug if I had an Audible sponsorship to insert said Audible sponsorship. You could listen to books. That's all right. Reading is good. How else are we going to learn things? Telling people that you are allergic to learning new ideas is not cute. It's not cute. That's how you lead to wild TikTok statements that choosing to be Black means you're a dopey and you're dead. That's wild. A book would tell you that doesn't make any sense. Deductive reasoning would have told you that. All right. And something that I think anybody who has tried to ignore Kanye for the past decade has realized is been giving internalized racism for many years. And someone pointed this out to me, I think when we did like the Lizzie and colonization video, or maybe a different video. It might have been that video when I was saying that people mourning Elizabeth's death is a little bit wild to me. Specifically, Black people mourning Elizabeth's death. As a colonized Jamaican person, I'm like, what? Why? Don't do that. Let's not, is a little bit wild. And their comment made a lot of sense, which was, if we've had 400 years of chattel slavery in the United States, in the Caribbean, similar amounts, give or take maybe 30, 40 years. In South America, similar amounts. Of course, there are a few Negroes, sadly, more than a few, that are like, you know what? I believe all these things Massa said to me. And if I am a good Black, I will get all the trappings of success that Massa said I could get. No, you will not. As we have seen with Will Smith, when he decided for the first time in his career to physically harm somebody, and all of the white audience acted like he had murdered Chris Rock on the stage. Playing into respectability politics is not going to get you the respect you deserve. Abolishing white supremacy and the ideals that uphold white supremacy and not making shirts that are essentially white supremacist ideals, yeah, that might help. That might help a little bit. So in need of a reminder of one of the worst things, and he said a lot of things, so to pick one of the worst is very hard, that Kanye said, and people always try to say, oh, but this is just a clip, it's out of context. The entire clip is on TMZ. You can watch the whole entire clip. It's not out of context. He said it for no reason because he feels that way. Is this clip of Kanye and how he feels about slavery?
You hear about slavery for 400 years? For 400 years? That sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years.
Which, oh, I'm muted. Which, it cut off soon, but if the clip ran a little bit longer, he's smirking at the end of it, where he really, in his spirit, was like, oh, those Negroes there, I mean, 400 years. Opening a book, which this one part I will not fault him for if he was 19, 20, maybe 25. It's a grown man. Full fault to him, because the American education system, the Caribbean education system, equally awful, but a little bit better in terms of teaching about slave rebellions. There are numerous slave rebellions in the United States. Had he opened a book, he would have realized, oh, 400 years passed, and 400 years people fought for their freedom over and over and over again. And sometimes made a little progress and sometimes got pushed back. If he had opened a book, he would know that. But, you know, that's how he felt about it. And that is just, to me, that was the first and the last straw. I was like, oh, absolutely not. Talking ill of your ancestors without reading is objectively wild to me. Also, I have a high respect for them, as well as a decent amount of fear of Dopey, which is ghosts in Jamaica. I just don't think it's a smart thing to do, personally. But yes, so that is how he has felt for many years. Let us continue. He then proceeded, which I think is interesting. People, particularly, we're speaking about Black people. This I would say, applies also to other marginalized ethnicities and races in the United States. You'll also see the same thing in the Latin community happen as well, where people will have internalized racism and they will parrot white supremacist ideals when they are angry at another Black person, Hispanic person, etc. So Kanye decided that, oh, let me make myself smaller, that he was going to get into a huge argument with Tremaine Emory. Tremaine Emory is the creative director of Supreme. So Supreme is a very expensive, honestly, I don't understand it, overpriced brand, but the kids love it. It's very, whatever. It gets the girls going, fine. So Kanye, in one of his rants, decided to write this. So I'll remove myself a little bit. I'll go sit in the principal's office. Can't we talk about more important things, like how late the show was? So when in response to, you know, his show being late and people giving him backlash, people weren't giving him backlash about the show being late. They were giving him backlash specifically about the White Lives Matter shirt. Of course, nobody cared about anything else on the show. So in him trying to be flippant and be like, oh, let's talk about all these other things, or how Bernard Arnault, this is his allegation, Bernard Arnault killed my best friend. Everyone's got a right to an opinion, right? That's mine. And wait, oh, did I cut it off? It might be like in the second part. He said, my best friend, Virgil Abloh. So Virgil Abloh was, I believe, the designer and creative director before he passed of Off-White, to which he was very good friends with Tremaine Emory. So Tremaine Emory was like, Negro, what are you talking about? And decided to rip Kanye West a new one. Your best friend, Virgil, Negro, please. This also excellent read. This time last year, you said Virgil's designs are a disgrace to the Black community in front of all of your employees, etc. We won't go through all of this, but this read I had to share with y'all, which Tremaine stated, I got to draw the line at you using Virgil's death in your Ye is the Victim campaign in front of your sycophant peanut algorithm gallery. What an appropriate and lovely way to A, read someone for filth, and to B, describe the very ridiculous parasocial relationship Kanye has developed with his fan base, which is Kanye will do anything, and all of his fans are like, well, you know, he is just so much smarter than me. No, Sistren, no. You have good sense. Use your good sense of deductive reasoning. So to which, anchored by this, Kanye then, which this is the rest of Tremaine's statement, to which he said, yay, tell the people why you didn't get invited to Virgil's actual funeral. Mind you, this is one of those arguments where you're like, oh my God, we are in a group chat that we shouldn't be in. This is very wild. But also, let us read it since we are here. Hold on, let me make it bigger. Y'all gonna be looking at my forehead because I cannot see. Hold on. Okay, perfect. While you didn't get invited to Virgil's actual funeral, the one before the public one at the museum, and why you weren't allowed to speak at the funeral, etc., etc. And then he then defended Gabriella, who is the Black woman editor of Vogue, that Kanye decided that he wanted to go after her despite literally thousands of people disagreeing with what he did. So then, in typical Kanye fashion, he decided to let his desired white supremacist come out, and he made this statement. And to Tremaine, I'm changing your name forever. Tremaine's new name as the BLM officer at Supreme is Tremendez. First of all, this is petty and also foolish. And also, he's just telling on himself. No relationship to Shawn Mendes of Eva Mendes. I think he meant to say or Eva Mendes for clarity, because Latinos believe in God. Again, I feel like the Latin community is like, my name is Bennett. Why am I in it? Like, what does got to do with them? Why are y'all dragging them into this? This is so odd. But also, it does highlight what he has done multiple years, which is put Black people down, compare Black people to other ethnicities and races. Black people believe in God? What you mean? So we out here amoral and apparently don't exist according to his other supporter? Very interesting. Companies don't hire creative directors. They are BLM officers. For all the people that you have you in your weak ass pants. Oh, he don't like his pants. Okay. And you know, you only got the job since you were Black and you used to work for me and you knew Virgil. Hey, Tremendez. Who says you only got the job because you're Black? Is it very much giving Clanny Karen? Is it very much giving Clanny Karen? And he said it with his whole chest because that's how he feels. He feels that he is above his Blackness, that everything in his life he has earned. But Tremaine, nope, Tremaine only got his job, not because he's qualified, not because he's accredited, not because he made some pants that apparently are not in Kanye West's taste, but because he is Black. Oh! They just gave you this job for fake nonsense. Because that's how Kanye feels. Kanye aspires to whiteness. Remember when he walked around, which I should put a picture of this, with a literal white mask on for weeks or a week? It was very strange. It was very odd. It was very much like, you know, therapy and unpacking your internalized racism would do you a great service, sir. which when he feels like he is wronged by white people, he then decides to whip up the rest of his Black fan base. Do you see how they're doing me? He called Chris and them the Klan the other day, which is ironic since he's now making shirts for the Klan. I mean, it's very, very interesting. And back to Kanye's aspirations. Let me make this bigger. This dress is not a dress he made. This is a dress, I forgot the designer, is also featured during New York Fashion Week. This is Bella Hadid, Gigi and Bella. So this one is Bella Hadid. They basically spray foamed it on. It was very interesting. And the caption says it all. So he decided to put White Lives Matter on it. Oh, and I did a shirt dress too. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. I'm the Louvre. The Louvre, as in one of the many museums in the colonized parts of the world that just include stolen artifacts. Kanye aspires to be the Louvre. There is nothing else to say about how Kanye feels about himself, what he aspires to be. Kanye aspires to be a colonizer. The more that Kanye does these things, the more he just shows the blackest part of his ass every time. And, you know, I'm glad that people now are not letting him upset them. I do wish we'd get to a point where we don't talk about him. Then part of me thinks about, if we don't talk about it, I feel like part of that is normalizing that this is acceptable sometimes. Because the more I ignored it, the more it whipped up. What I find, I think, more disingenuous, like ignoring him makes sense to a certain extent. What I find disingenuous is the people that are shocked, like Jaden Smith, which maybe it's the age. I don't know. I would try to give him some grace. He was very shocked. I can't believe Kanye would do this. He's been doing this for 10 years. He's been doing this for 10 years. He's been showing the blackest part of his ass. We are in 2022. In 2016, he campaigned for Donald, I am a racist Trump. Wore the hat. His entire rant about how he believes slavery was a choice because of 400 years, because he refused to read a history book and learn about slave rebellions, is because in reaction to him wearing a MAGA hat. That's why he was at TMZ. He wore the MAGA hat. Everyone flipped out. That was his first, I would say it was his first like mainstream instance of being like, yeah, you know, I hate me and I hate y'all and I hate all of us. And I aspire to white patriarchy totally, all of it. And that's why he was at TMZ, to talk about, well, I know people were upset about it, but I love Donald Trump. That's what he said. That's what that man said. Wild, wild. So also, I do think something is really interesting. If you are ever bored and you want, I don't think it's not really, it's an initial laugh, but then it's kind of a little bit disturbing. If you look at his Instagram, the comment section of his Instagram is very much sycophant. What were the words of Tremaine, which were very poignant? Hold on, what did Tremaine call them? Sycophant peanut algorithm gallery. It's people writing very weird things, just cheering his behavior on. Strange. And real people, because I clicked on some of the pages. Okay. And for somebody who doesn't read books, who very much thinks that he is above, as he said, the media, academia, above common sense, above the regular people, because he's an artist, it was very ironic, which let me remove me so y'all can see who this is from. It was very ironic. Oh, you guys can see when I'm there. Okay, perfect. That he decided to post this headline from the Daily Mail, which, child, the Daily Mail, in my opinion, and many opinions, is a salacious right-wing foolery publication, if we even want to call it a publication, which stated, and quote, Kanye is not alone. Black academic claims rapper's views are, capital letters, supported in African-American communities across America after he publicly condemned BLM and said everyone knows it's a scam. I just enlarged, and I love how they didn't even, whatever academic professor they're claiming this to be, all they wrote in the corner was professor. Didn't give the man a name, nothing. Not a damn thing. It just said, this professor here that we have plucked from obscurity, he agrees with Kanye. All right. Interesting. Very interesting. And now onto the point about BLM, because this was his original story. This is what he posted in his story, where he says, everyone knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it is over. You're welcome. As in, his intention was to specifically ruin BLM. BLM, the organization, has gotten in trouble and, in my opinion, is financially not only irresponsible, has gone into a level of alleged fraud. We did a deep dive into this on June 4th, many, many months ago, before Kanye decided that he wanted to say this, into their 990, which as a, let me make sure it's specific things, as a 501c3, got to get your little IRS checks in. As your 501c3, you have to file a Form 990, which a Form 990 essentially states like how much money you got, what did you do with the money, where's the money going. That Form 990 is very fishy. It's very fishy. So on Patreon, we did a whole deep dive into it, and I was like, this is highly problematic. It's highly problematic as somebody who supports the movement. It's sad. It was sad to me to see an organization who had maybe started with great intent, devolve into chaos and nonsense. However, the national organization and the local grassroots chapter are two different things. What I find very disingenuous is that Kanye decided to go into his stories. He didn't make them as posts and say, see, look at the 990. Look at all this scam, 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 scam. Okay, two things can be true at once. And specifically kept out the fact that the grassroots organizations have been saying this for years. The local chapters have been saying, I don't know what the national people are doing. There's about 10 of them over there. The thousands of us don't like it. We don't like it. This is a problem. And sued them, which we also covered on the Patreon. So if you want to see that, hold on, we'll go back in a second. But this is the lawsuit that, let me make me small. We covered on Patreon. We were supposed to get, if you watch this video, we were supposed to talk about WeWork and Adam Newman getting a rebrand, and we didn't have enough time because we spent a lot of time on Black Lives Matter grassroots versus Black Lives Matter global. And the lawsuit, I think, is very poignant in stating, hey, what is it? A few bad apples ruined the bunch, and accountability, which is, hey, we should talk about this. Hey, we should get to the root of this. Hey, the movement is very different from the organization, which the organization has run amok. The few people in the organization need to be held accountable. Yes, very much are deserving of this lawsuit and all of that. And Kanye didn't say nothing. Neither did Candace. It's not in Kanye or Candace's best interest to say, oh, there's nuance here. That doesn't get the people going. Oh, now I done messed up my hair. Hold on. That doesn't get the people going. Making blanket statements and not going into reading, because the man don't want to read. I guess he doesn't like to read court cases either. The court case is not that long. Like the initial complaint, I think it's like 20 pages. I think you should read it. It doesn't behoove them, and it doesn't fit his narrative of this is an entire scam, which he then did what BLM has done, which is use victims and their families to promote their narrative. So Breonna Taylor's mom said it first. Let me make it a little bigger so y'all can see. I have never personally dealt with BLM Louisville and personally have found them to be fraud. There are numerous parents, victims' families that have stated, national organization, listen, maybe you're helping somebody, but you're not helping me. I asked for some help, you're ignoring me. And that should be investigated. It is being investigated. That we should have open dialogue and conversation about it. Specifically, I'll be very honest, transparent on my end. The reason why it is on Patreon, why it will remain on Patreon and not on YouTube, because it is not a conversation for mixed company. It's not. It is a conversation for Black people who are affected by all this to have a conversation and say, hey, what does accountability look like to us? In my opinion, the former director of BLM that was called out a few months ago, her statement and her apology, that does not suffice. That's not going to work, boo. That's not going to work. That's not enough. And most importantly, the reason why Kanye and why his statements, despite being annoying, despite being based in no fact, in reality whatsoever, why they are important is because it affects other people. For me, wine time for y'all. So on that note, let's go through some comments. If you're just now tuning in, scroll to the beginning and we're just going to do comments right now. All right. And also for Patreon, we are going to do, it's 6:30. We are going to do our live. I owe y'all a live. We have to catch up. So we'll have a live today. So we're going to do it at 7 p.m. So in 30 minutes. Let me be honest, y'all. 7:15. We're going to do it at 7:15. And then we'll do our next Patreon live on Wednesday. So I will send y'all the link in a second. So yeah, let's go through some of the comments, which, you know what? I should have realized, because there are a lot of people in here. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. That the comments are not going to match up to what I remember because there are too many comments now. But I'm just going to randomly go through them. Okay. All right. You know what? Blue Quartz, I'm surprised he doesn't have a cult yet. Same. And I was beginning to think that his Sunday service was gonna turn into that. That's what I was beginning to think. But he seemed to have given up interest in that after he got sued for allegedly not paying the singers. Oh, trifling. Just so many levels of trifling. Exactly this, Julian Steve. I'm done with him making a mockery of Black people, especially Black Americans. Exactly. Listen, Miss G, he doesn't read. This is what he said on mind you, he had told on him, nobody asked him this question. That's not a question you usually ask somebody in modern society. Like, can you read? Like, he just brought it up himself. He's very happy about it, which is odd. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. All right. We're just going through random conversations. Okay. All right. I mean, he ran in 2020, so if he wants to waste his own personal money, sure. Sure, sir. Waste the money. Waste the money, child. Yes, I was hearing about that too. Just and I think it's important to note too, it's different if you were never taught and you don't have the ability. They have the ability. They can. They're making a choice and they're very rich and they have lots of leisure time. So they're making a choice to be ingrained and dedicated to nonsense, specifically Kanye. Because you saying slavery was a choice for 400 years means that you don't know about not Nan, a slave rebellion, which is a choice in his big age, a specific and a weird choice. It's a very weird choice to be. Right? We should have focused on that he's running a school. He did. He opened. I should have put pictures, but then I would have had to blur out all the poor children's faces. He opened a school. I mean, I don't know. It looks like it's in a warehouse. It's very odd. The things that you can do when you have money is very odd. All right. Oh, he did. Y'all should Google the school. It's a very, again, I don't know. Yes, called Donda Academy. Yes, and named it after his late mother. Yes. Oh, look at you. I need to start listening to books. Because reading sometimes I would say like is time consuming. So I do want to start like using Audible. Lady Venom. I'm still remember his slavery is a choice. I'm disappointed Black people still support him. Same. That to me was the only straw that mattered to me. I was like, what? The level of disrespect to say that with a straight face and then smirk. And then smirk as if he did something. He's like, I put them onto game with this. What? No. I mean, I believe that. Well, I mean, that lessons Sub-Zero. He also said he won't listen to anyone who has less money than him. I mean, that's a great way to stay ignorant because there's not that many people of his complexion that have more money to him. And there are not that many people in general that have. There are a lot of rich people, but not the 99% of the America. We the regular people. So he's like, oh, y'all are stupid. Hilarious. It would be comical if it wasn't dangerous. Sharon Sajay, right? Exactly. He is grown. He's past grown. He's overgrown at this point. He's overgrown. Listen. I'm just scrolling through. Lamara Haynes. Kanye always thinks he's eating, saying something so profound is so wild. Like, sir, go to hell immediately. Don't pass go. Just immediately no. Just go. Just remove yourself, please. Remove yourself and leave us be. Listen. Hey, sister. All right. Listen. Lamar, that's what I meant to say too. Like in his response to Tremaine, who he decided to use, add in some xenophobia in there and act a fool. Like he doesn't know that they're Black Latinos. Like, it's so very straight. Again, when you choose to have internalized racism and choose to just act like a clanny Karen and it comes out, it don't never make no sense. It doesn't never make any sense. It doesn't ever make any sense, which is why there's only ever going to be most likely that one video on Candace Owens, and it's about her lawsuit because with the other Black Republican woman. Because I'm like, the two of y'all is comedy. I don't think that they can believe any of this. I just don't see how it's possible. You'd have to be so divorced from reality. All right. Spooky Poothie. I'm Latina and atheist. Like, excuse me. Listen, Sistren. He said everyone has a rosary that he knows. Okay? That's all he knows. That's all he knows. A mess. A mess. Thank you, Jonathan. If y'all are enjoying the live, then go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, man. All right. So let me scroll to the bottom so I can somewhat keep my Patreon word and be on time. Nick Andrews, BLM is a scam. However, the sentiment that Black lives indeed do matter is the truth. The national organization is full of issues, which is why it's embroiled in lawsuits and investigations. Yes. Yes, 100%. And BLM, the regional, the grassroots, I know it would be so sad for them to lose the trademark and the name recognition, but I think that's the only way people are going to finally be able to separate the two of like, oh, look who's like doing the work and actually helping people and out in the community. It's not the 10 people at the top that decided they wanted to pay their father of their children $1 million for consulting. Excuse me? What? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, Lord. Dread, that's a great point. As far as BLM, where there's opportunities, scammers will always gather. It's the other side of the coin for decentralized movement / organization. Sadly. Which, speaking of which, scammers, Scam and Sham, I have neglected our little mini series. There are a few that we're going to do. I have coming up, probably like little 10-minute videos of some just like, wait, what? And I think if y'all are so interested, let me know. We'll end on this part. If we want to do a little video on Brett Favre. Brett Favre stealing from welfare recipients, allegedly. Brett Favre stealing from cancer patients, allegedly, along with the former governor of Mississippi. Unsurprising, but also like, what, why? Just why? So if y'all want to do that, we can pick up Scam and Sham with Brett Favre. We can start there. Or there are a few of them that I saw. The woman, her name is Stormy. I forgot her last name. Talking about, what's the word? Low vibrational barbecue. Not gonna come out? Okay, here we go. I was thinking we could talk about her too, because that's really wild to me. That's really wild. Really wild. So I was thinking Wellington. Oh, thank you, Candron. I was thinking maybe we could do one on her because her courses she's selling, very interesting. Very interesting. Also, when I watched the first video and someone sent it to me, I was like, oh, is she on a diet? Like she's mad at the carbs? Like what's she mad about? Like I'm not understanding. Very odd behavior. So I was thinking we could do the two of them. Exactly, Marsha. Because I see interesting how the mainstream media will give white scammers a pass. I don't see people being like all up in an uproar about Brett as they should be. Scamming from welfare recipients, allegedly, in what is the poorest state in the United States, and also per capita, the blackest state in the United States, is very insidious. That's very gross behavior. Being a scammer is gross to begin with, but that is specific gross behavior. So I think we'll talk about it. She's interesting. I started like doing a little reading into her. All right. Yes. And she selling courses to like learn your vibrations. Like, wait a minute. What? Strange. Okay, so we might do one. I saw a 5K course. I think there's a 10K course on there. And I'm like, this, first of all, where are people getting this money from? This is interesting. So I think we'll do one on them as well. All right. Well, perfect. Oh, not Brett. Yeah, Brett, we're going to get, I was reading the lawsuits. I have to dig in a little bit more into like him, the person. Because all I know about him is that he played football for such a long time. That's all I really know about Brett Favre, because I'm not much of like a football watcher. Oh, Uncle Shan. I need to watch Shannon Sharp, Red Himmerfield. I need to watch that. All right. Blue quartz. Listen, I don't like, where are people getting money to pay this? I have questions. I have so many questions. So yes, we'll definitely do that. Okay, cool. So we're 6:40. Okay, I will be on time. So Patreon, I'll see y'all at 7:15. We're going to finally talk about Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj and her lawsuits, multiple. So one, which she is suing the channel Nosy Ho, spelled HEAUX, which I love the Louisiana spelling, so that made me laugh. And what happens when you basically weaponize your followings against other creators? So I would say like multiple days incidents that happened between Nicki Minaj fans, Nicki Minaj herself, and then Kimberly from the For Harriet channel, because I know that she's seeking legal action as well. So we're going to talk about that, because I think that case, as it moves forward, when that officially gets filed, it's going to be very interesting in terms of there needs to be some accountability finally of what happens when you weaponize massive amounts of people and you're retweeting it. Does that count in the eyes of the law, which the law is very old, very archaic, it needs to be updated? Does that count as you essentially like making an overt action? And I think it should. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. So we're going to talk about that. Vice did an article on it. I've done some research into terroristic threats as well, which ironically, that was, I think, yeah, that was my 1L year legal research paper. You have to do a paper, was on terroristic threats. So it was interesting. That's technically what it would fall under, and a few other torts. So we're going to talk about that. So, hey, Tiana, we're going to talk about that over on the Patreon at 7:15. We're going to make it on time. I'm just going to grab the wine and I'm going to reorganize the slideshow really quick. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yes, to Tiana's point, For Harriet is suing a Nicki stan. She's suing the Nicki stan, and I think, so just to put out here what I find interesting about the whole thing as well, awful, harassing people, awful, receiving death threats. Why? Because you said you didn't like the music? Like, well, who cares? Like, build a bridge and get over it. That's craziness. But B, the law and how laws are made is usually because regular people are like, hey, we need to make a law about this. Like, someone is receiving harm. That's how you get laws changed usually. It's not because our legislature is so smart. They're just sitting there like, oh yeah, you know what? We have social media now. All these laws are from 1925. We should update them. It's not how it works. It takes someone usually suing. So I think in terms of setting the precedent, this will be a great case. Hopefully, that she'll get some recompense, because that's awful. Like, the threats that she received, she did a video on it. Y'all should watch it. Completely terrifying. Like, I would have been terrified. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with these people? And then B, so that way it doesn't happen to other people, because I've seen it. That's one of the reasons why whenever y'all ask me about Twitter, I'm like, I'm not on there. I refuse to get on there. Y'all can send me tweets. I will go on and look at the tweets, but I'm not about to post on Twitter, get on the Twitter. Absolutely not. The people of the Twitter seem very much unhinged. But yeah, so we will do that at 7:15 in 30-ish minutes. And I'm making this face because Patreon knows timeliness is a social construct that I'm learning to accept. Only on the internet. In real life, I'm very timely. So yeah, awesome. Well, I will see y'all later in the week. We'll do the prep farm video. Today's Thursday. I'll try to have that done by Monday. We'll have a student loan video come out, and Patreon will have our live today. We'll have another live on Wednesday, and then Instagram will finally bring back our Money Mondays that we do on Mondays at 9 a.m. So this Monday, we're going to talk about, family emergencies and using your emergency fund and all of that. Frightening but good stuff, and how that has helped. So we're gonna talk about that. All right. So I will catch y'all later. Bye.